Hello, YouTube. Welcome back, or should I say, welcome to a new chapter in Investing University. Probably very few of you, if any, have maybe heard of Investing University that I started on TikTok a couple years ago. COVID thing, had to find something to do. Happened to have a hobby in the stock market, and I wanted to teach people how to invest. It's always been a passion of mine, and for a long time, I've traded options, specifically selling covered calls. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to sell a covered call. But first, here's a disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Take what I say with a grain of salt, and this content is purely educational. Also, possibly a more important disclaimer. Options are not for everybody. If you're not willing to spend maybe an hour per week, 2 hours per week, looking into stocks and trying to find the perfect opportunity to sell a call, this probably isn't going to be for you. And trust me, I myself have been burnt multiple times trading this specific strategy. But if you do it right, you're going to make some good money. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get into it. So I'm assuming that if you clicked on this video, you have at least a vague understanding of options and how they work. More basic options videos coming soon, but today we are looking at what happens when you sell a call option contract. So we know that if you buy a call, you are most likely hoping that the stock price goes up. Well, what happens to the guy you bought the contract from? Here's a real-time representation of your money when you buy a call that expires a week out and you hold until expiration. When you buy a call, you are buying a contract, an actual binding legal agreement that you have the right to purchase 100 shares of the underlying stock at the specific strike price by the expiration date of the contract. So let's look at a really crude representation of an options chain. These contracts have prices that you pay up front to own them. This is known as the option premium. When you buy a call, you give that money that you paid up front to the contract seller, right? When you sell a covered call, you are the person taking that money up front. That money goes straight into your pocket. Now, not just anyone can sell a covered call whenever they want. You must own 100 shares of a company, in our case, the stock ticker ZIM, which is a shipping company, to be able to sell a covered call. These shares that you own will be the same shares that you are writing and selling the call option for. After your contract is sold, your 100 shares are held for collateral to be able to fulfill the contract if it is exercised or you are assigned at expiration. This is what makes it a covered call. If it is exercised or assigned at expiration, that means you sell your 100 shares at the strike price you chose when selling your contract. That's why the strike price you choose is especially important when you're selling options. There are 3 outcomes that can happen when using this strategy. You can be assigned in your contract, which means you will sell at your strike price at the expiration date. Your contract can be exercised by the buyer, which means they immediately buy your 100 shares at your strike price. This can happen at any time at the buyer's discretion, and this usually doesn't occur unless the stock price shoots up past your strike price abruptly. To me, this has happened twice over about 3 years of using this strategy. And the third option, which is your contract can expire worthless, which means you keep your 100 shares and the premium that the buyer paid you. Let's run through some theoretical scenarios to get a better idea of your profit loss outcomes. I'm going to use this trade that I completed the other week with ZIM as an example. So I bought 100 shares of ZIM at $17.89 per share. Once I own 100 shares of this stock, I can sell a covered call. The contract I chose to sell was an $18.50 strike price call expiring that week for a premium price of $68 or 68 cents with an option multiplier of 100. The stock price I chose was $18.50, meaning if the stock price is over $18.50 by the expiration date, I will get assigned on this contract and I will have to sell my 100 shares at $18.50 per share. So I was assigned on this contract and I sold my 100 shares for $1,850. Subtract the $17.89, which was our original investment, and that leaves us a $61 profit just from the sale of shares. Add the premium price that we took from the sale of the call, and we profit $129 from this trade. Now I'm going to show you what happened on this trade for me. On August 2nd, 2024, the expiration date for this contract, the closing price for Zim was $18.99 per share. This caused us to get assigned on our contract and we sold our 100 shares at the strike. So at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, would I have made more money if I had simply held shares and just sold? Well, in our case, if the stock price moved past 1918, we would have began experiencing theoretical loss. 1918 because that is our original investment plus the total profit that we can pull from this trade. Theoretical because we haven't actually lost any money in that scenario, but lost nonetheless because we could have made more money if we just held and sold. When we sell our covered call, we can already predict our profit and we want the stock price to stay under 1918. Now let's talk about what happens when your contract is exercised. When a contract is exercised, the buyer makes all of this happen immediately. The outcome is mostly the same and you still lock in that $129 total profit, but this happens a lot sooner rather than at the expiration date of the contract. Now let's talk about expiration. If the price of the underlying stock is below $18.50 by expiration, then the value will go to zero and the contract will expire worthless, and you get to keep your $68 premium that you were paid and your 100 shares. This isn't a bad thing though, because in this trade strategy, you must be comfortable holding your 100 shares. So make sure that it is a company that you actually believe in. Oftentimes, for me, this is the most preferred outcome. Now let's talk about the ideal scenario, the theoretically perfect way to trade a covered call. You want to guess exactly where the stock price will end up by the expiration of the contract. This will allow you to maximize the profit you take from selling the call and let you keep your 100 shares so that you can do it again next week. And in a perfect world, you will be able to do this every week. Here, we would want this price to go up right next to our strike price, but never quite get there. That way, we can make gains from the rise of value in our shares and keep our premium, but also the 100 shares that we had in the first place. Here, the best price for the stock to end up at would be $18.49 since we sold the $18.50 strike price call. And now hopefully you can sell another call next week at a higher price since now you own shares at a higher price. That's all well and good, but there's a pretty big point that's easy to miss here, and of course this isn't $128 of cold hard cash that's going in your pocket. That's the difference between realized and unrealized gains. Only when we sell our shares, all of the $128 total profit that we're talking about here is realized on our end. This $60 gain in value of the shares is unrealized unless we get assigned to sell or we sell on our own, but the $68 gain is realized because we already took that money from the sale we made. However, the reality of this trade strategy is that it is most profitable from high volatility and therefore high options prices. Try to sell contracts when there are unreasonably great movements in the stock price that inflates options values. I will make a video in the future talking about how you can do that, but please, one more word of advice. Wait until 10:30 to make your decision. Unless there is a great movement in the direction you want a stock to go, please wait and give the market a little time to breathe so you don't expose yourself to a false correction in the price or too much volatility. A little patience goes a long way. Go out into the world with this new knowledge And remember, only trade covered calls on stocks that you are comfortable owning shares with. Sell calls when the prices are high, and please be patient and disciplined when trading.